Hi, Gene Burnett from GeneBurnett.com. Hey, I thought I'd talk a little bit today about how I deal with what I would consider like a mild case of obsessive compulsive disorder. I don't feel like I have a clinical case or like I'm a hard case or something that would require medical intervention or anything, but it is a fact of my life. I've always had stuff that I had a very difficult time saying no to and a very difficult time not getting obsessed with certain things. When I was younger especially, I used to collect. I had all kinds of collections, and there was definitely a compulsive quality to the collecting that I was doing. I also really like lists and writing lists and keeping track of things. And once I got over my sort of adolescent slobbiness and slovenliness and decided that if I was going to enact any kind of mission in my life, it would support me to be organized, I started becoming more organized, and then I started becoming very organized. Extremely organized. Like for a musician, I'm like NASA level organized. So what I've realized though is that it's been really helpful to me, and as a sort of a coping mechanism, to sort of steer my OCD impulses gently, not with a lot of force, but I just sort of steer them towards things that support my life and that are relatively healthy and good for me. The first thing I am thankful for is that none of my compulsions are damaging to other people. So that is real relief, of course. If I had something that was very hard to say no to, that involved hurting other people, I would be really resisting that actively and keeping myself from doing it. None of my impulses is like that, so I don't have to use a hard reins on it. I don't have to pull the reins tight. I can be more gentle, right? So that's what I try to do. I try to be gentle with them, and I try to steer them in directions that help support my life, or at least aren't harmful, right? So one thing I like to do is I like to get high. I like marijuana. I always have ever since I was a kid. Not a kid, but like, high school, out of high school. And I've used it, I've abused it in the sense that I've used it to do things for me that it's not very good for, like postponing responsibilities, dealing with uncomfortable feelings. Not very good for those things. It just postpones the day of reckoning is all it does. So, when I started to do Tai Chi and yoga and bodywork and stuff, I just quit completely because I really wanted to focus. And it wasn't until later on in my life that I started using it again. And there's an element of a habit in it. There's an element of it's hard to say no to and all that kind of stuff. I don't smoke copious amounts or anything, but what I've discovered though is that as I've gotten in better condition and better shape than I was when I was younger, I often feel like practicing and working out when I get high. Sometimes I really don't feel like practicing. I'm just going to get high and watch YouTube videos or something, and next thing I know, I'm stretching, and the next thing I know, I've done a 2-hour workout while I watch those videos. So I try to steer that towards activities. I try to make it enhance activities that I'm already doing as opposed to it being the main thing that I'm doing. So that's a big difference between how I used when I was a kid and how I use it now. Getting high is not great if you have, or at least if I have, a strictly agenda-driven kind of practice session or a workout. If I want to do 10 of this and 20 of that and 40 of this and 5 of that and 6 of that, I can do it. It happens. But sometimes when I get high, my priorities shift, and all of a sudden that agenda, doing that particular kind of practice isn't what I want to do. For a more creative, explorative practice where I'm trying to figure out new exercises or new wrinkles on things, or just being in the sensation, just being on the inside, feeling and experiencing what I'm doing rather than the outside, driving forward. It can be very good for that. But either way, it's never the main It's never the main attraction. It's something I do with other things. So I've taken that and I've kind of married it to working out. I've married it to going on for walks. I've married it to playing music. I've married it to doing other things aside from just the thing. I like to keep track of things. So, I have these little notes that keep track of all the, I don't know if you can see this, it's so bright. Yeah. These are all categories, different kinds of exercises, and these are how, whether I've done them or how many I've done. I enter them in my computer every morning. I have a list of all the different workout targets that I have for all the different exercises that I do. I never read this thing. I just keep track of it because part of my brain I really want to keep track of things and keep lists and so I do our books. I also do our taxes. So that's an area that I steer that compulsion to, get the numbers right. I steer that to balancing the checkbooks over here and to doing the taxes and keeping track of expenditures and income and stuff. I use it to keep track of my fitness totals. I have all these fitness totals and all these numbers and stuff. It doesn't, it doesn't mean anything, but it does keep me on track. It does let me know how many of things I've been doing. But but it is positive. It's connected to working out. It's connected to that stuff. So I steer my impulse that way. Being organized, I like to organize things. I like to put like things with like. So I steer that into like doing the recycling for our household. So it isn't that I'm gung-ho about recycling necessarily. I don't know how much of a difference that really makes in the big picture. I just like putting plastic with plastic and paper with paper. So I just steer that impulse towards something that is hopefully good, at least in the short term for the planet. I started taking pictures of the dishes. Like I did the dishes and I made a big pile of dishes stacked, and I said to Samara, look woman, look at my work. I was kind of joking around like I was a caveman. And she said, that's beautiful, you should take a picture of that. So I took a picture of it. The next night I did the same thing. And I've been doing it now for 14 freaking years. I'm coming up on 14 years of taking a picture of the dish rack that I've stacked every day. So I'll link you to the gallery below so you can see it. I'm coming up on, what am I coming up on? I'm coming up on a big total. I'm coming up on 5,000 days. 25 days from now, spirits willing, I will have done it for 5,000 straight days. So obviously, kind of a weird OCD-like behavior to take a picture of your dishes every day and post them on my Flickr gallery, but hey, I get the dishes done. Most people, doing the dishes is like, this horrible chore. I enjoy doing the dishes, but now that I've got this streak going, I do it whether I like it or feel like it or not. I do it every night and I take that picture. So my wife loves it. Samara she doesn't mind cooking. Sometimes she really likes to cook. I do not like cooking at all. I like to eat and I like to do the dishes. So we got it worked out perfectly. She cooks dinner. I do the dishes every single time for 14 years. So I steer my crazy listy, keep track of all this stuff, exactly how many days I've done it and all this kind of numbery stuff, but I steered it towards something that helps our little household here and makes life a little easier for my wife, which I always like to do because she makes my life so much easier. She practically manages this whole building that I'm living in. So so it's a good exchange. So you see, I'm steering these things towards something that's hopefully helpful or something that's good, instead of doing things that are just little cul-de-sacs. Like I've got some of those. One time years ago I sprained an ankle or hurt an ankle doing some kind of a dance thing, and when I finished my shower I would run cold water over that ankle, and I somehow got it into my head that it would be bad luck if I didn't do that. So, I mean, this has been like 20 years. After I take a shower, I always do a cold shower at the end for a minute or 30 seconds or whatever. And then when I take the shower pressure off and it's just coming out of the nozzle down below, I put both ankles in there. I just cool off my ankles. I do it every day. I don't feel right unless I do that. It's probably good for my ankles. It's a harmless thing, but I sort of, I notice, there's one of those things. I hope it's good for my ankle to get a little cold water on it. That's one of the ones that's, I couldn't steer it anywhere. So I left it there. So if you have a little bit of this kind of stuff going on, see if you can steer it towards an art project like my dish pictures, or steer it towards something that's healthy. If you want to keep track of something, figure out something that you can keep track of, where those numbers help you keep track of something healthy. Keep track of, write down the AQI in your town, the air quality index, if you live in a forest fire area or something like that. And you can start developing a sense of which months are going to be more smoky. Keep track of things that are useful rather than things that are not useful, if you can. If you can. I'm just presuming that you can, because I guess if it's a really strong case, you can't. You just have to do whatever that compulsion says to do. But in my experience, I found with my mild, admittedly compulsive stuff, that I can gently nudge it towards more healthy pursuits, and try to keep any harm that might befall anyone else to a minimum about these things. So when I go down to teach in the patio or our little movement studio, I mean, honestly, I can't start unless I arrange all my stuff on the bench or on the table out there, so that it looks a certain way. I don't have a set way every day. I mean, every time, but I put my water bottle here, I put my hat here, I put my keys here, I put my appointment book here. It's got to be a certain way. I don't question it. I don't try to stop myself from doing that. I get it right, and then I go teach, and then I help people with their balance. So I'm using it to comfort me so that I can do some good for some people. So and squirrel a living together somehow too while I do that. So if you can take your things you can't say no to, and steer them towards something that helps your life in a bigger picture. Always helps to have a mission in life. Everybody has a mission, I'm convinced. You just might not know what it is. You don't pick it. It's already there. You can refine it, but it's already there. You have to look and see, where do you feel most alive? What do you feel like contributing to the world? What around you could be better if your talents were applied to it? And it's got to feel good. I'm talented at organizing and doing books. I don't want to do anybody else's books. I don't want to become an accountant. I'm good at it for my own books, and that's all I want to do. Other things that I'm terrible at, like playing the guitar, singing, writing, Tai Chi, movement stuff, coordinated stuff, athletic stuff. I was terrible at all those things. I didn't have any real talent at all. I just worked and worked and worked and persisted and got decent at all those things by practicing, by working. I wanted my nervous system to be steadier in those areas, so I did it. But I'm trying to steer my organizing, not necessarily into my career, but I'm trying to steer it towards things that help me out, things that help out the world a little bit. So take your squirrely behavior and see if you can steer it towards something that benefits someone beside you, and even if it just benefits you, as long as it's a benefit and not just nothing. Some people feel like they've got to switch the light on a bunch of times before they leave a room and stuff like that. That's pretty harmless, or something like that, some little ritual you have to do, that's not a problem. But if you find the need to, I don't know, if you have to collect something, maybe collect something that you can turn into some kind of an educational display and take to schools and teach. I have a friend who's a major collector. Like, this dude he's got it bad. He collects at least 20 things. His apartment is like a little museum. When he was younger and more spry, he would take his insect collection, just one of many. He had these boards, with all the beautiful insects and stuff. And he would take them to schools, and he would show the kids, and they'd learn about evolution and insects and beautiful nature's creations and all that kind of stuff. He's a film collector, so he collects all kinds of vintage movies and videos and stuff. And he periodically has free shows at the local college here, where he just shows selected bits of his collection to the public for free, and I go to every one of those. It's great. So he's taken his compulsive collecting into something that he can share, rather than something that is just an insular thing, which isn't bad. But if you can steer it towards connection, if you can steer it towards something a little more positive than just the thing in itself, then I say do that. I think that's a great thing to do. Steer it towards art, steer it towards connection, steer it towards things that you need to get done in your household that are actually healthy. So if you need to feel the need to scrub things with a toothbrush, go outside and do your house. Do something that helps your life if you can. If you can't, you can't, and I feel for you, but you can't. I'm not saying that anybody is bad for being compulsive in a way that they can't control. It can be a blessing, it can be a curse. It is what it is. But if you've got it mild enough that you have some control over it, that's what I have, and that's what I've done. I've steered it towards keeping track of my fitness, keeping track of my dishes, keeping track of stuff, and it's working out so far. I've found people that can roll with me, people who like to cook and don't like to do dishes. All right, you take it easy, and good luck with everything about your condition. Tai Chi practice will help it no matter what it is. Think about doing something like Tai Chi or yoga or whatever. A great way to settle your nervous system down no matter what your condition is. Take good care, and we'll see you down the road.